Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Monday, and we're going to have JC on the Titan MR hotline, and we're also going to have a senior writer from FloridaGators.com, our good friend Scott Carter, join the program about 8:30ish. But in the meantime, let's head on over to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Corn Dog himself. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Yeah. Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. I am extending the Crime Prevention Security System Studios from the lovely beaches of Fort Lauderdale, where I just saw a Royal Caribbean boat just float right by my room to the Port of Miami. Isn't it something? What a beautiful day we have on here in South Florida.
Well, there's no question. Is it chilly in South Florida today?
It's not bad. It's in the upper 60s. I'll tell you, QB, everybody in America is coming to Florida because the highway to get from Gainesville to here was literally bumper to bumper south of Orlando. It was crazy. I've never seen so much traffic for that long on the Florida Turnpike. And then once I got on the 95 in Fort Pierce and headed south, and it's just mayhem. Everybody is in Florida. Everybody from the north is coming here or somewhere. They are coming from somewhere, QB. It's a massive influx of people. It feels like anyway, if you're driving in the state. And we're here.
It's wintertime. They're like the birds. You know, the birds fly south.
That's a good point. Yeah, a very good point. So, QB, man, what a wacky.
What do you want to talk about?
Was anything happen this weekend? Did anything go on? Wacky weekend.
Well, I will tell you this. I'm going to start out here, okay?
Let's go.
First of all, we'll talk a little NFL. The National Football League showed you yesterday what the National Football League is all about. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. So some crazy stuff happened yesterday. Yeah. But here's what I will tell you.
Underdogs.
Let's talk Gators. Obviously, they have released. They have fired John Hevesy and Todd Grantham. I understand where people are coming from. I'm going to tell you right now, JC, it ain't going to make a damn bit of difference. But we ain't very good. No. I don't think we have great talent. I've said it from day one. Once again, I can't tell you how embarrassed I was with the effort, especially from the front seven of our defense. I honestly, I told Mick on the broadcast, I wish they would put the backups in. And one series they did put the backup front seven in, and we forced the punt, believe it or not. Yeah. I don't think, and these guys think they're going to play in the NFL. We ain't got one player besides Tyre Elam. And I tell you what, I like Jason Marshall Jr. Guy made one of the best effort plays I've ever seen on that long run. Mm-hmm. They made the shoestring tackle. But look, I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to make a difference. I don't care if you go get Buddy Ryan to come call the defense. It ain't going to make a difference.
The last thing, right. No, you're right. And that speaks to the numbers South Carolina racked up running the football. I mean, if your running game is struggling, you just want to go play Florida. LSU showed us that. And now South Carolina, this was a team, I think, QB, that had some kind of crazy stat against Texas A&M just the week before offensively that I've never seen so bad. And then a week later, they come here to play the Gators, and they're running up and down the field like the greatest show on turf. And some of that has to be effort. You're right. I mean, it has to be the Florida.
It's effort, but go back and watch the tape, people. We have our starting defensive tackles. I'm talking getting blown up, laying on their back. When you get blown up, it's they call it a pancake. I can't tell you how many times we had guys on their back, and it goes for effort and just not very good. I don't know how to put it.
Now, having said that, I don't want to discount what South Carolina accomplished. I mean, we can't take anything away. You can't take anything away from South Carolina. Harrison White, who I don't know where they've been all year, but they averaged 8 yards a carry. 8 yards. I mean, when it's that easy to get to the second, third level of a defense, man, you're doing something right, but they also are not trying, it didn't feel like. And, Florida goes ahead 7-3, and you're feeling like, okay, this is going to work out fine. But South Carolina stuck to a plan that they knew they could exploit, watching the film on Florida, from what the LSU team did, from what everybody seems to have done here recently anyway, and they took advantage of it. And so it's cost a couple guys their jobs. It's probably going to cost some kids a lot of playing time going forward because it's open tryouts, if you ask me. If you're playing defense on that football team, it's call the frat boys, call anybody, get somebody out there that wants to do it. And you've said, and I agree, that defense is all about how bad you want to. How bad do you want to get after people and make and be disruptive and show that you have some pride and some character out there when you put that uniform on. And right now, and again, taking nothing away from South Carolina, they were fantastic. This was clearly their best game of the year, and they're 5-4. But when I look at those wins they've had this year, a couple of Eastern schools, wherever they are, a Troy and a Vanderbilt that they had to win in the last seconds. They bring this kid from St. Francis College in New York somewhere, whatever. He's probably played in front of 20 people his entire career, and he now is in front of 50,000 fans on a Saturday night at the Barnyard, running the Florida Gators right out of the Barnyard. So, give that kid some credit. It's his first start as well. So good for them. They showed us that they haven't thrown in the towel on the season. And right now, I'm wondering if Florida can even get to 6. Well, they'll probably win against Samford, I guess. But then you've got Missouri and Florida State, which should have been games that you would have thought would have been, chalk them up for dubs. And I don't think I can do that right now.
Yeah, we got a bunch of Facebook Lives here.
Right.
Most of them are referencing, has this team quit, blah, blah, blah. Look, I have serious issues when it comes to sports when people sit out there and talk about, oh, the players have quit on this coach. That's fine. Whether you want to quit on the coach, whatever, you need to take your ass to the sideline and not play. Because here's the bottom line. If you play in the Southeastern Conference or you play college football, everybody's goal is to make it and do it for a living in the National Football League. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. Like I told you, I will be shocked if anybody on our defensive side, well, I'd say the entire team, but we're sticking with defense right now. If any of those guys have a chance at the next level, Kyer Elam will. I'm not sure anybody else gets drafted because here's the bottom line. Your job interview is your tape.
Yep.
Why would any National Football League scout or coach or general manager want to draft guys that don't try and get their ass blown up on every play? I mean, somebody help me out here. Tell me. I know they want to blame the coaching, which I get, but your job is to go out there. Every play that you play, you are being graded. And so I don't know how any of those guys think they're going to play at the next level.
I don't know if they do think that. Maybe they do, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, yeah, they do. Trust me.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then they've got a lot to show. Listen, I mean, obviously nobody is confusing anyone on this defense for a Grenard or for a Zuniga or somebody out there that can be disruptive and make things happen defensively. And then offensively, I thought this team could run the football. This team hasn't run the football recently. It wasn't long ago that this team could run the football all of a sudden. They led the statistical categories in this league for a short period of time. And they've disappeared too, QB.
So we racked up yardage against FAU and USF, two horrible football teams. And somehow, it just blows my mind what we did to Alabama.
Right.
And we'll get to Alabama. I don't think Alabama is what Alabama has been. Obviously, we saw that Saturday night. Mm-hmm. But that just basically.
Well, listen.
I don't know how to phrase it, but I don't know how we did it.
Yeah, and listen, there are a lot of teams this weekend that are looking back here on Monday and asking themselves, "Are we good enough?" Even if we do get to the playoffs. because I didn't see anything fantastic out of so many teams that are ranked. I mean, Cincinnati has to hope for a fumble in the end zone to hold on against Tulsa, where they're a 23-point favorite at home. Ohio State is fighting Nebraska, who can't kick a field goal to make it a 3-point game in the last 5 minutes. Nebraska. And then you've got, Michigan State going to Purdue, and they've trailed the whole day. So there's a lot of teams out there, QB, that are asking themselves, what's the story here? Everybody, probably with the exception of Georgia, certainly. So it was a crazy weekend. A lot of things got upended. And I don't mind talking about Alabama. I'm talking about a team here, QB, who's seen more turnover than probably any team in America, because these guys play 3 years and leave. The coaches get jobs elsewhere that are on Saban's staff. You cannot continue to keep the level of consistency that you've established as the gold standard in college football on a never-ending basis with that kind of turnover. And in spite of all that, they've got a 3-point loss to A&M, and they've lost one game, and they're 9-1 or 8-1, whatever it is. Even with all of that, do I think they're going to go in and play Georgia? No, I think Georgia is probably a 10 to 12-point favorite right now on Alabama, and I'm not sure Alabama gets out of Auburn, who, by the way, sucks. So I'm just telling you, this is a tough thing to do it every year over and over again, which is why that run Alabama had from 2009 to 2013 will never be repeated, where they went 3 out of 4 and played for the 4th. And that's why right now with the transfer portal and recruiting the way it is, things are vastly different. You have to sell your school and go get players. And that's why Michigan State's only got 1 loss, but they might have 2 or 3 before it's all over with. So it's hard. It's hard to try to maintain that level of gold, that gold standard that they've established. And the turnover they've had is unbelievable. They're a very young team, and they'll probably win the West, but I don't think they're going to be close to Georgia at this point right now. I don't think anybody is. I'll just say that for everybody in America right now, QB.
I agree. I don't want to hear your excuses, JC. At Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers try to Gainesville in North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Highline. We got a bunch
keeping it real here.
Our text line. All right, here we go. All right, this one's from Daryl. He says, "Good morning, guys. I left in the third quarter in Columbia to go back to a warm hotel. Do you think Florida has melted in for the rest of the year?" Thanks, Daryl. Look, this is where I have a serious problem. Again, if anybody that suits up on a Saturday thinks that they can go out there and go through the motions and then get a chance to play at the highest level, they're freaking morons. And that's why I'm telling you right now that if I was watching, if I went back and watched the tape and my eyes told me that we had guys that don't play hard, I would bench them and play somebody else. It's that simple. And I don't care who you are, because effort is the number one thing when it comes to sports. And I'm going to leave it at that. All right, we got another text here on the Titan MR text line. Comes from Ryan. It says, "Good morning, guys. Shane, it's never a good thing when Mick Hubert makes a quarantine call for Florida's opponents. Florida made the LSU running back look like Herschel Walker, and then Saturday made the legend of St. Francis, Jason Brown, look like Heisman winner Jason White. One embarrassing performance after the other while UGA is marching on towards a natty. Damn, I hope Gator Hoops gives us something to get excited about." Yep, he was wide open, busted coverage. This comes from an anonymous texter. He says, "Morning, Shane and JC. Just curious if you guys think bringing in new coordinators actually fixes problems for college football teams." I'm going to say absolutely not for the Gators right now. That is not the problem. It can be some of the problem, but I'm telling you, we ain't got very good players. Just don't know that there's too many examples out there where it does. Maybe Kelly at Notre Dame is one example, but other than that, I can't think of one. This is Johnny from Lake City. Hope you guys have a good day. Also tell JC to put a hat on. He looks totally different without his hat on.
Hold on. Well, I thought I was gonna. There's my Rams. My Rams were supposed to represent me down here in South Florida. I'm scared to do that. I also have a Dallas Cowboys visor. That was horrible. Like I said, it was a wacky.
But you should have worn your Jags hat. You could have worn your Jags hat.
That one hat I should be wearing right now, and it's up in Gainesville. Dadgummit. I should be wearing a Jags. Hey, listen, they just beat your Super Bowl champions, buddy. Your Super Bowl champions couldn't get in the end zone.
I know. I mean, it was horrible. Horrible.
Josh Allen, the real Josh Allen, stood up for Jacksonville yesterday, picking the other Josh. He picked himself off, and he also sacked himself, and he also did a couple other things, that Josh Allen for the Jaguars. Hey, good for them, man. 2 wins, bro. They're going to beat Houston. That's going to be 3 wins. What did I say, 7?
Well, you said they were going to beat Houston the first time.
Well, okay, they're going to beat them the second. And so that's 3.
Don't know that. The National Football League, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true. So, all right, we'll see how many wins they end up with.
So, JC,
they've already doubled last year's total.
I always come up with little tidbits on Twitter. I screenshot this one. I'm going to read this one to you. Listen to this.
Okay.
The worst Power 5 records the last 10 games against Power 5 opponents.
Yeah.
Okay? Hang on. Girls, well, it went away. There's so many Facebook Lives.
Well, throw them at us.
Well, I can't read them. I'm going to read just this Twitter. Worst Power 5 records last 10 games versus Power 5 opponents. Kansas is 0-10. Vanderbilt's 0-10. Arizona's 1-9. They finally got a win today. Duke is 2-8. The Mighty Gators are 2-8. Indiana's 2-8. Nebraska's 2-8. The Gamecocks are 2-8. And Syracuse is 2-8.
Yeah.
Can you believe we're even in that damn?
You're in that room.
That list.
You're on that list, sitting in that room with Syracuse,
with Vanderbilt, Arizona, Kansas, and Duke.
Hey, thank God you got a guy who's been extended with $7 million coming. That way, he's going to try hard to get some players for you, huh?
Well, we need a lot of things to turn around. Not just defensively, offensively, we're not very good either.
But I think because of the way college football is today, I do believe turnarounds can happen really, really quickly, much more so than in the past. Proof of that is Michigan State. Proof of that can be some of these other teams that have used the transfer portal. If Dabo doesn't want to use the transfer portal, I think he's going to fall behind. If Dan doesn't go in there and find some other players, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know why you would expect anything different. So I think, this year's a washout. I mean, you're looking at a 7-5, 6-6 record. So I don't know what that gets you. Probably not much, but December is not that far away for early signing period. These guys got to hit the road, QB. They have got to get on the road, and they've got to find some players, and they've got to get the transfer portal fired up again. And let's get some ball players down here that want to be in Florida. I mean, why wouldn't you want to be in Florida? They're going to give you a facility that's second to none. They've got the weather, you've got the campus, you've got everything that you need here. Now, maybe not in 08 and 09 and 10 and years like that, but we're in 2021, 22 now. So there's no excuse. You've said it. You can't make any excuses. I don't want to hear how sick the team was and how they weren't feeling well.
Look, that didn't have nothing to do with it. I'm telling you, we've been getting blown off the ball all year long. Yeah. Charles says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metalol, if y'all keep drinking the Georgia Kool-Aid, if they get Oklahoma in the playoffs, they'll get boat race in the second half.
I'll bet them. I'll bet them on that one. You can have your Oklahoma. I've seen them play defense, my man. That's about as good as Florida's. And I'll tell you right now, if Georgia gets a hold of Oklahoma and gets on top of them, it's going to be ugly because that quarterback, as good as he is a true freshman. Well, he's a freshman, first of all, and that's okay. He's playing himself into being invited to New York, and that's also great. But he's also beating up on Texas. Right, okay, so he's beating up on Kansas, and he's beating up on Texas Tech, and he's beating up on Texas. He hasn't seen anything remotely like Georgia, okay? So as good as he is, and I give him credit, Oklahoma's going to get boat raced if they end up playing Georgia. They don't want that. Trust me. I don't think anybody does. These guys playing for Georgia are Sunday players. That's like what Alabama's had for years and years and years. That's what Georgia's got right now, folks.
I agree. I mean, they got a bunch of NFL guys.
It's that simple. It's that simple. Jordan Davis is unblockable. He's unblockable. And there's not one guy on Oklahoma's offensive line that wants to have anything to do with that guy or their linebackers or their corners or their safety or any of them. And, I'm glad that people are excited for the college football playoff. I think it's going to be another lopsided semifinal round, and I think the final game could be that way as well. What do you think of that?
Alan says on Facebook Live, so where are we now? I don't necessarily see the termination of defensive coordinator coaches as totally a positive. Look, it's something that I think the fans have wanted, but I'm telling you, it's like putting a Band-Aid on the issue.
Yeah.
The issue. There's a lot of problems, and it starts with the people actually on the field playing.
Gotta find players.
I know
find players.
People want to blame coaches, and I get it, but getting blocked is all about effort. And go back and watch the tape. And if somebody has a difference, let me know.
QB, they remind me of those Texas Tech defenses that let the other team get 70 and didn't care. Oklahoma State, those days when those teams just went out there and filled up space. They didn't really play hard. And that's what it looked like. I mean, if South Carolina's running up and down the field, I don't need to say much. That team couldn't do a thing, couldn't get a first down prior to this game and got well fast. And that's inexcusable.
Look, South Carolina watched the tape. They watched the tape. And you could tell
they did.
30 plays, they knew exactly where to attack. Mm-hmm. And they would bring in a big fullback, old school fullback, and run off tackle. And it was just plowing. They were plowing through us.
I know it. I know it.
And let me tell you something, people. That has nothing to do with scheme. Nothing to do with scheme. If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Connects for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Connects, 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Connects, 352-400-4550. Speaking with JC on the Titan tomorrow hotline.
You beat me again. You beat me again this weekend. You beat me.
I did on the yep.
You went 7-7.
JC. The Pete Slayton Dentistry weekend picks. I went 7-7. JC went 6-8.
Well,
hey, I did call it upset. So I picked Purdue.
Yes.
Who else? I picked North Carolina to beat Wake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were down too. I mean, they were trailing in the third period.
They were down 18 points.
Yeah, they were down big time. Credit to Matt Brown, Sam Howell, those guys. That was their biggest win of the year. And then the crowd storms the field because they beat Wake. And Wake and North Carolina they weren't on the schedule this year. They just agreed to play. That's why it's a non-conference game. That's why Wake Forest could still win the conference and probably will. I mean, honestly, they probably will. So, good for North Carolina. Wake's going to end up being the ACC champion going to Orange Bowl. In all likelihood. That's probably what's going to happen. I really believe Wake can still win that conference pretty easily, really. They just have to beat Pitt, I think, or whoever's coming out of the West. Miami struggled with Georgia Tech. Florida State was pathetic again. NC State's okay. They're all right. I mean, they're okay. But the ACC is kind of down, if you will. So, and the Pac-12 is a disaster. The Big 12 is Oklahoma. And the SEC is Georgia. The Big Ten is the only conference that has some intrigue in it.
JC?
Weren't
you real high on Texas?
I was high on them, and they have folded. I think that loss to Oklahoma did them in. If they had beaten Oklahoma, held on, and won that game, I think their season would have changed or been different. But maybe not. Iowa State's played better for sure. But Oklahoma's going to win that league again. I don't know. I mean, this is it's so repetitive in that Big 12. And that's the problem with it. The only conference that's got any intrigue left is the Big 10. And again, Ohio State looks very vulnerable to lose a game. They've got a freshman. He's okay, Stroud. He'll get better. Just like Alabama's guys will get better. But they're too young right now, and they're not going to win a championship. This team's that's not championship material that played Nebraska on Saturday and lost to Oregon. Oregon, for its part, trailed Washington for a large part of the day. They'll still come out of the Pac-12 probably the winner, and they'll probably make the Final Four if they hold on with only one loss. So I think we're starting to see it kind of form in the Big 12 and in the Pac-12 and the ACC, but in the Big 10 and certainly in the SEC. But then in the Big 10, it's kind of I think there's 2 or 3 teams still that have a chance.
Toby says on Facebook Live, Mullen needs to give Carlos Del Rio and Jeff Kitna. It's not Jeff, it's Jalen Kitna, some playing time against Sanford. Miami and Oklahoma are playing true freshman quarterbacks, and Miami's been a different team since Van Dyke. Well, he's playing because they're injuries. Oklahoma's playing the number 1 rated high school quarterback in the country, and he is legit. I don't think either one of the other quarterbacks are going to get playing time. I don't know what they're going to do. I will say this: I thought Emory played hard. Emory played with a broken right thumb, which amazes me. He broke it in the Georgia game. I don't know how the hell he grips a football.
Right. Oh, he dropped one. Yeah, he dropped a football.
Gene,
go ahead.
Gene wants to know why not put in a backup quarterback last Saturday. Look, I know people want to look. There's so many other factors on this team. The problems, quarterback is not that's the least of our worries right now. Been trying to tell people that since day one. Yeah. JC, the Gophers lost on Saturday, so now
the Badgers
and Wisconsin are tied for the Big Ten West.
Yeah, and the winner of the West will be the winner of that game. And boy, Illinois stuck it to Minnesota. I don't know where they went, so their fans are up in arms too, trying to figure that one out. But Wisconsin looks pretty strong, if you can consider that. Defensively, their numbers are up again. They'll probably win the West and then play Michigan State or Michigan or Ohio State out of the East. So, we'll see. Those teams they can't stand up to the Georgia Bulldogs or even Oklahoma. I'd almost say, there goes my screen. Okay. So I don't know. It's a little early still, but I think I know who I'd put my money on right now. Pretty simple, pretty obvious, actually.
Who's that?
Georgia.
Well, yeah, they're the best team in America. There's no question.
I don't think there's any doubt.
So many people. There's so many people that don't think they can't win because of Stetson Bennett. I don't know what y'all watch, but I think Stetson Bennett's a hell of a quarterback.
Well, how would you like to have him down here? I mean, would you not want him to play?
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
I mean, come on.
I don't know. He would. Well, no. Let me just say this: he would not fit the system here.
Probably not.
He's a pocket passer who can move a little bit, but you're not going to call quarterback powers for Stetson Bennett. The guy has things that you can't teach. He's accurate. He throws the ball fine. That Georgia's not going to throw the ball 40 or 50 times. That's not their MO. That's not their DNA.
He's flat out won that job, QB. I mean, that's what he's done. He's their guy.
I liked him last year.
Yeah, I know. So, I do. I remember you talking about him.
The team believes in him too.
Yeah. So I think right now, Texas A&M is praying that they can beat Ole Miss and have somebody beat Alabama to try to get a shot at Georgia. That's the only team. I don't think Auburn is in it now because unless A&M loses.
I think Auburn can beat Alabama though.
Right. So they're at home, right? They're at home. That'll be a very emotional setting, but they need Ole Miss to beat Texas A&M. That would give A&M 3 losses, and then they need to beat Alabama. So they've got a chance. Ole Miss, I wouldn't count them out against Texas A&M one bit. It's in Oxford.
A&M is going to run the ball right down Ole Miss's throats.
Maybe, yeah, but that's what we've got, and it's going to come down to if Auburn can beat Alabama. Otherwise, if Texas A&M beats Ole Miss and then beats LSU, Texas A&M's rooting like hell for Auburn. They want a shot at Georgia, and good luck. But yeah, I think athletically speaking, they could probably get on the field and run around with Georgia. And Alabama might, if they can work out on some things offensively. But it's Georgia's conference to lose right now. It's as simple as that. And then, like I said, the Big Ten is the only one I think that's up in the air. I think we know who's going to win the other conferences.
Yes, there's no question about that. Gosh, there was something that just popped up here on Facebook I wanted to read, but it's gone away right now. Dadgummit. But that's what happens when you're on the road. And
well, who's it from?
I don't even remember who it was. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot what. Well, I don't know what.
But you wanted to read it, though. You wanted to read it. That's the fun thing for damn sure. Well, it's okay, QB. Listen, the brighter days will come. I'm looking at a beautiful sunny ocean right now. There's not one person within 10 miles of me that cares about Florida's downfall right here in South Florida. But I understand we do a show with Gator fans, and the University of Florida is the focus and the main subject. It is the way it is, and nobody saw 5 losses to this point, and who knows, it could be 6 or 7. But listen, this year, here's just got to start over
here. Alabama has serious problems on the offensive line, and that is so true. I have a buddy who knows O-line play, who has kids at Alabama. He said it's the worst Alabama offensive line he's seen in 10 years.
It's very surprising. Hopefully those kids will get to play one day, but I'm sure they will. Listen, depth is a problem with them. They lost their center in that game against LSU the other night. It impacted the way Alabama's offense operated. It was bad. Somehow they held on. Defense, I guess, saved the day for them. Will Anderson had 12 tackles, 4 for loss, and he leads the country in that category. So he's a great player, and he's doing it without his colleague there on the other side, and Christopher Allen. Injuries have a place on every team out there, but when your depth is questioned, it really hurts you. But Alabama's offensive line isn't fooling anybody right now. They can't run the football. They had 12 yards running, 6 yards running the football, 6. So it was not a good night. But guess what? They won the game somehow, and they're going to end up playing Auburn at 10-1 on the year. They'll probably beat New Mexico State and Arkansas, and if they beat Auburn, they go to Georgia to play Georgia. What the hell you want? I mean, this team's a very young team.
I do think Alabama's going to have some issues with Auburn's defense.
I agree. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I would tell you this: I think Bo Nix is going to have issues too, and I think Bo Nix has issues.
He has issues.
Period.
You never know what he's going to do. You never know what he's going to do.
Yeah. Well, he was bad the other night, and that's just the way it is in the SEC, right? On Saturday night, if you have, not everybody can have Matt Corral. Not everybody can have him. And how about that Tennessee team with Hendon Hooker, who's throwing the ball all over the yard? Would Tennessee like another shot at Florida right now? I would think they would.
We don't want to play them right now. Trust me.
No. Tennessee right now is the second best team in the East. That's clear to me. Clear to me. So, I mean, they went up to Kentucky, won a hard-fought physical game. Guess who they get to play Saturday? They play the Georgia Bulldogs in Rocky Top. I'd be really curious. I'm not saying they're going to beat Georgia. I am curious, though, how they'll do offensively against Georgia, because I think they're a very good offensive football team right now.
Yeah, they are. All right, good stuff, JC. Enjoy your vacation, your body surfing, and all that good stuff today.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you, guys. See you Wednesday.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. We're going to take our first time out. We'll come back. We'll be joined by senior writer for FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, thank you for it, member FDIC. We're now going to head to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by our good friend of the program, senior writer at FloridaGators.com, Mr. Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you, my man?
Hey, good morning, Shane. Just recovering from the weekend trip to South Carolina. Did not go the way the Gators had hoped, and we got a few things to talk about this morning, I'm sure.
Well, obviously we have something to talk about because it looks like you're in your office and you're not in Aruba. So there must be something going down on campus. Obviously last night it came out that Todd Grantham and John Hevesy will no longer be coaching the Florida Gators. Just your thoughts on that, Scott.
Well, Shane, after a performance like that, it hadn't been going well for Florida, obviously, but you looked at that schedule and you looked at South Carolina. They're an 18-point favorite. And you're thinking, okay, the Gators got a chance here. There was a lot of talk last week about, hey, can they get that momentum back and sweep November and go into a bowl game with a 4-game winning streak and build some momentum toward National Signing Day. And of course, the opposite happened. South Carolina rolled up, 459 yards, 284 yards on the ground. They're playing a graduate transfer quarterback who played at St. Francis, PA last year. He looks really good. It was just a bad night all around. What else can you say? Reminded me of probably the worst performance for the Gators since I remember that 2014 game against Missouri here in the swamp, that really ended Will Muschamp's time at Florida. And so you knew after the game, the press conference with Dan Mullen, he was asked straight up whether or not he was at the point where he might have to make some staff changes. He kind of deflected the question, but you knew it wasn't going away. And so while maybe the timing a little surprising to some, not really. If you look at what happened in college football yesterday, I think there was 3 coordinators in the country got fired. Obviously, I think most Gator fans, if there was going to be a move of this stature, they expected maybe Todd Grantham to be the guy. I think John Hevesy, him and Mullen, they go back 20 years. Those two guys have been together. That caught some people off guard. But Mullen addressed himself after the game. You look at what happened against South Carolina. They lost that game at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And so the guys who are kind of responsible for those lines of scrimmage, unfortunately, got canned. And I know those are always tough moves, but it's just a move, and we'll see if that helps here the final 3 games or if there's more to come down the road. There's just a lot of questions right now, Shane.
Yeah, we did. There's no question. Line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball got manhandled. We got a text on the Titan MR text line from Joe. Joe wants to know, Scott, do you think Coach Mullen made this decision on his own, or do you think he was forced into making some changes?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I think only Dan Mullen and maybe Scott Strickland have that answer. Mullen's going to speak about 1 o'clock. I doubt he's going to, if asked, he would answer that one. I think it was there were certainly conversations after that game between Scott Strickland and Dan Mullen, and I'm sure they went on yesterday. So that is probably an answer that maybe will be revealed later. At this point, only a couple of guys probably know that answer. But I think what's become apparent, to a lot of people who really follow the program closely, in this day and age, when something goes wrong, especially at a place like Florida, when you're having one of those off seasons, changes are going to happen. And, Dan Mullen made a couple of changes after last season in the defensive secondary. Now this year he's made a couple more. So eventually it gets to him. So, at this point, he's got to try to right the ship and get this thing going back in the right direction. Probably next year, or we're going to hear the same kind of noise again, and it's going to be more directed at him. So this is just the life of a college football coach in 2021, Shane.
Yeah, there's no question. And then honestly, it's a pretty good job to have being a college coach.
Really good.
Yeah, whether you're successful or unsuccessful, you probably don't have to work very much after you're fired or what have you. Scott, I had 1 million people texting me yesterday, and they were happy to see the change. I always hate to see people lose their jobs. It's the nature of the beast.
Sure.
But my response was to them, look, I know people want to point the fingers at the coaching, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I'm telling you, and I'm not one that likes to get on players, but I just don't think we have very good players at certain positions.
Yeah, I think the talent gap on defense has certainly been exposed a little bit this season, more so than probably last year at the end. Um, this is a program that's put out a lot of NFL players on defense over the last few years. I don't know this year. I mean, you've got Kyrie Elam, you got Zach Carter, but I think after those two guys, the talent drop off is significant. And also, Shane, I mean, and I'm not a defensive coach. I don't know exactly the scheme, but it just seems like to me, I've always thought good coaching is maximizing whatever talent you have. And sometimes that means maybe switching up your scheme or whatever. I just never felt like the talent they have meshed with what the defensive scheme has been. And I don't know enough about the X's and O's to break that down. But you can just tell there's something off on this defense. But going to your main point, I think they need to upgrade in talent. I mean, there's no doubt good players change a lot of things for coaches, and bad ones do the same. Or guys who can't play at a consistent level, consistently. So we'll see here. But yeah, there's some work to do in recruiting, certainly on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Lauren says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. My wife even commented how small we are this year. Yeah, we're not a very big football team, especially on the front seven on defense. I mean, I think we're really small and pretty soft as well. Looking at the offense, obviously Emory played. Reports are that he kind of broke or fractured his throwing thumb against Georgia. I thought he played pretty well. He was under pressure most of the day. I don't know how the hell he gripped a football with a broken thumb. That amazed me. But I was surprised, Scott. Dameon Pierce, the mystery of Dameon Pierce still bothers me because he runs so freaking hard every time he touches the football, but he only gets a few carries. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of thinking, and I was in that camp that maybe they would unleash the running game against South Carolina and start it with Pierce. I do know that the flu bug, Pierce was one of those guys. I think he and a few other guys came up late to that game on Saturday morning. So that was probably maybe some of the issue there. Maybe just, he was sick, so I don't know how much he practiced late in the week. So that could have been a factor. But, Dameon is one of those guys, it's easy to root. He's easy to root for. I love the way he plays, a downhill runner. And you got to believe that if he is healthy these last few games, I mean, to me, they've got to develop that running game and get it going again. And he's an ideal candidate to give the ball to 15 to 20 times a game. It's not really the system that they run offensively. It's not built that way. They've really spread those carries around. But when you're in a situation like they are, Shane, I mean, let's face it, man, they need to win. And if Dameon Pierce carrying 20 times a game against Samford next week is the way to go about it, I think at this point most Gator fans would gladly see him run the ball that much.
Yeah, Cliff says here Pierce can probably play at the next level. I think Dameon Pierce will make our NFL roster. I don't know if he'll get drafted. If he does, it'll be late. But he's got a tremendous motor. He plays hard. He plays on special teams. He's a guy that could definitely make a roster. I do think he can, and I just wish he got more touches. Were you surprised? You talked about it. South Carolina struggled stopping the run. How much we came out throwing the football?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see 10 straight passes to start that game. I just thought that they would probably run, and especially with some of the turnover issues they've had that has cost them so dearly this season. And then it was a different kind of game plan. I mean, that game had such a strange flow, man. At the start, and then once it got away from them, it just looked like they had no chance, and that's what kind of happened. I mean, South Carolina obviously does deserve some credit. They took control. They didn't wilt there when Florida even took the early lead, which I thought the Gators needed to do. That I didn't think they could fall down early, and you just didn't sense a great comeback spirit in them. And then when they got down, it obviously wasn't there. With South Carolina scoring 30 unanswered at one point. But everything's going to be scrutinized extra at this point, Shane. We all know that. That's how it works. But yeah, I thought maybe they would run more than they did, considering that was really, when you look back at when they were playing well early in the season, I mean, it was all around the run game. And then when the wheels have kind of fallen off, it's been primarily because of turnovers, the majority of them coming out from the quarterback position. And again, Emory, certainly the loss wasn't his fault on Saturday, but that play right there before halftime, the fumble and the turn for touchdown, I mean, you almost felt it was over at that point.
Yeah, it was an uphill battle, no question at all. I think it was only a 10-point game when he fumbled. I can't remember exactly, but it was a big play in the game. But we weren't stopping them all night. They saw something on tape where they just attacked us running the football. Scott, I wanted to mention, this team. People talk about leadership, this, that, and the other. I think, I look at leadership differently. I think people, they want to go back to the Tebow days with a fiery type leader showing his emotion. I like to look back at the Werfels of the world, just go about doing your job. Do they really have any leaders on this football team?
Yeah, I look at Zach Carter as one of those guys. He's certainly not a rah-rah kind of leader. He's a quiet, go out and do his job, stands up when things are tough. I respect good guys like that, and he's doing it on the field. He was another guy who I didn't expect to play Saturday. He came up late again. I think him and Pierce and Dean and maybe a few others on that separate plane. So I think when you have those kind of guys, you have to have them. But is this a team that, are they lacking for leadership? I don't know. I mean, I know some guys like Diabate and Carter, and I think a guy even like Damian Pierce. They've answered some tough questions this year. They look like those three guys. They give it a lot out there on the field, but eventually you've got to have everybody be like that or buy in. And I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know what the disconnect there is, if there is one. I haven't sensed that there's real issues in the locker room, but when you start losing, and people are going to question that. It's natural. And then when you lose a game like South Carolina, you're like, wow, that wasn't what we're accustomed to seeing from the Gators. Even when things aren't going well, this is a program that, even during McElwain and Muschamp years. I mean, I've always said there are very few times I thought they weren't playing hard out there, and I don't know if that's the case now, but they certainly aren't playing well.
Yeah, the playing hard and effort has really bothered me the entire year. Scott, I don't know if you know this, and I'm sure Mullen will maybe address it today in his presser. Who do you expect to take care of the offensive line duties for the rest of the year and be the so-called interim DC?
Yeah, I mean, as an offensive line, I think Michael Saline, who's been working under Hevesy, graduate assistant, I think he'll assume those roles. I think Paul Pasqualoni, you got to remember he's former head coach of Syracuse. Him and Dan Mullen go way back. He was with the Detroit Lions on their defensive staff before he came to Florida. I think he will have some on-field duties with the defense, and maybe Christian Robinson as far as some of the calls. That's what I've heard. I think Mullen he'll address those more specifically, but I think Saline and Pasqualoni are two guys, obviously, who will take on a more elevated role, more high profile with those departures of Grantham and Hevesy.
Eddie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, other than running back, they lack talent. All the leadership in the world won't fix that. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. I don't think we have great talent at all. Joseph says, Dan throws it early, picks up first down and scores. Then we get down and he starts running the QB draw. I don't understand that. Lauren says there's a disconnect somewhere. We don't play hard. I think I said this last week. Whether you win games or lose games as a coach, doesn't matter if you're coaching Pop Warner, middle school, high school, college ball, no matter what level, you can live with the results and the outcome of games if you can lay your head on the pillow at night and say, you know what, my team gave a 100% effort.
Yeah.
We got our ass beat. We've had a couple of turnovers, but we played hard.
Yeah.
And that is what has bothered me the entire year with this team. And it's just not defense. It's every position. And I don't know what, and I don't understand why kids don't play hard, because I told JC, Scott, it's your job interview. Anytime you're on the football field, it's your job interview if you want to play at the next level and make money doing it. And why anybody would want you on your team if you don't play hard.
No, I mean, I agree. And there's no upside to a player, as you just said, not to go out there and play hard. Even if you're on a bad team, there's someone watching that film of that game who might give you a break down the road to make a difference in your career. And if you got a lot of guys not going hard, then obviously you got a lot of guys you don't need in your program. Again, I know that's going to be scrutinized and analyzed, and I haven't since it's a bad locker room, but you have a performance like the other night, and there were some things left to be said out there. I mean, I think my final point here, Shane, is just, I know there's a lot of going on about even Mullen. I mean, Mullen's proven he's a good head coach, but it doesn't matter how good of a head coach you are. I mean, if you don't have the players playing hard for you, if you don't have the talent, you're not going to win a lot of games in the SEC. And I think his focus has to be now to get more of those players in to turn this thing around, because right now they're not near where Florida needs to be.
No question. Well, Scott, good stuff as always. I'm sure it'll be an interesting day around the office today, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
All right, Shane, have a good one, buddy.
That's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, or take our second time out, come back, wrap up this Monday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Nike, Prime and Pearl, Regal Cinemas, Medici, Dave & Buster's, Skechers, and the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Make your reservations today at spurriers.com. Also, make sure you visit Visors Thursday through Saturday. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank JC and Scott Carter for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline today. I think Coach Mullen speaks around 1 o'clock if you want to check that out. But first of all, before we go, let's get this day in sports brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports, Tom Dempsey, back in 1970 for the Saints, kicks an NFL record 63-yard field goal with a square-toe shoe. That's brought to you by the good folks at Comfort Temp. Hope you enjoyed today's show, folks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Should be an interesting week. You've been watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Take care, folks.